There's a strange paradox in our hyper-connected world. We have more friends on social media than ever before. We can talk to anyone across the globe in an instant, and we are surrounded by people in bustling cities and busy offices. So why do so many of us feel profoundly, deeply alone? There's a popular loneliness scale that circulates online, listing activities like going to the movies alone, eating at a restaurant alone, or even traveling alone. But this scale misses a crucial point. Being alone is not the same as being lonely. You can be perfectly happy in your own company, enjoying a quiet coffee or a solitary walk on the beach. That is solitude, and it can be a beautiful thing. True loneliness is a different state altogether. It's the feeling of being on the outside looking in, even when you're in the middle of a crowd. It's the feeling of a glass wall between you and the rest of the world, a wall that prevents real, meaningful connection. It's a quiet, aching sense of being fundamentally separate. Today, we are going to explore this feeling not as a personal failure, but as a core part of the human condition. We will journey into the heart of why we feel lonely, and with the guidance of some of the greatest thinkers from both West and East, we will discover the path to not just overcome loneliness, but to cultivate a deep and lasting sense of true belonging. Chapter 1. The root of our separation. To understand loneliness, we must go deeper than the surface. The great Austrian psychologist Alfred Adler, who worked alongside Freud and Jung, proposed a revolutionary idea. He argued that true loneliness isn't about a lack of people. It's a breakdown in our ability to form cooperative relationships. A lonely person, he said, has adopted a mistaken style of life, one that sees other people not as fellow travelers, but as threats, judges, or obstacles. Where does this mistaken view come from? Adler believed it stems from a deep-seated feeling of inferiority. Now, Adler saw a basic feeling of inferiority as a normal and even healthy part of life. As children, we're small and weak, and we look up to the powerful adults around us. This feeling of less than is what motivates us to grow, to learn, to strive, and to become better. It is the engine of all human progress. But when this feeling becomes overwhelming, when it festers and is not guided by a sense of connection to others, it can mutate into what Adler called an inferiority complex. This is the paralyzing belief that we are fundamentally flawed and incapable. Imagine a young woman who was told as a child that she was too shy or not a people person. She internalizes this story. Now, as an adult, she avoids social gatherings. It's not because she doesn't want connection, but because her inferiority complex whispers a constant, toxic narrative. They won't like you. You'll say something awkward. It's safer to just stay home. Her loneliness is a fortress she has built to protect herself from the perceived threat of judgment, a threat manufactured by her own deep-seated feeling of inadequacy. Sometimes, this deep inferiority flips into its opposite, a superiority complex. This is the person who constantly needs to prove they are better than others. The braggart, the hyper-competitive colleague, the person who always has to be right. This isn't genuine confidence. It's a desperate mask to hide a fragile ego. Their need to be above others makes true, equal, and cooperative relationships impossible, leaving them, ironically, completely alone on their self-made pedestal. Chapter 2. The Philosophical Guidance. 3 Paths to True Connection. If a mistaken view of life is what isolates us, then philosophy can offer us a new one. The path out of loneliness is not about learning social hacks. It is about a profound inner shift. Let's explore 3 powerful philosophical paths to connection. Path 1. The power of common humanity. The Stoic path. The Stoic philosophers, like the great Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, lived in a world of political intrigue, betrayal, and social chaos. Their antidote to the feeling of separation was to constantly zoom out and remember their connection to the whole. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, "What is not good for the beehive is not good for the bee." This is a powerful meditation. When we are trapped in loneliness, our focus is entirely on ourselves, our fears, our anxieties, our perceived flaws. The Stoic practice is to consciously shift our focus outward, to remember that we are all part of the same beehive of humanity, all struggling with our own fears, all hoping for connection, all dealing with our own private battles. Imagine you're feeling anxious at a party, standing alone in a corner. The lonely, self-focused thought is, everyone here is so confident and successful. I don't belong. The Stoic reframe is to look around the room and think, every single person in this room, behind their smile, has known fear. They have known heartbreak. They have felt insecure. We are all bees in the same hive. This thought dissolves the feeling of separation. It replaces fear with a quiet sense of compassion for them and for yourself. It allows you to see others not as a terrifying audience, but as fellow human beings, just like you. Path 2. The wisdom of contribution, the Eastern path. Both Confucian and Buddhist thought place immense value on our interconnectedness. They teach that the self is not an isolated island, but a nexus of relationships. The path to overcoming the suffering of loneliness, therefore, is through compassionate action and contribution. The great Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh spoke of the concept of interbeing. He would hold up a piece of paper and explain that the paper is not just paper. In it, you can see the sunshine, the rain cloud, the tree, the logger who cut the tree. Everything is. When we see the world this way, the idea of being truly alone becomes an illusion. The most powerful way to experience this interbeing is to shift our life's goal from "what can I get?" to "what can I give?" Let's say a young man feels lonely and purposeless after moving to a new city. His weekends are empty, and his self-pity grows. Instead of focusing on his own lack of friends, he decides to contribute. He finds a local animal shelter that needs volunteers on Saturdays. As he starts walking dogs and cleaning kennels, something magical happens. He is no longer the lonely new guy. His identity shifts. He is now the guy who helps the dogs. He forms natural, easy connections with the other volunteers, not because he is trying to make friends, but because they are all united by a shared, meaningful task. He has overcome his loneliness by forgetting himself and contributing to something larger. As the ancient philosopher Aristotle also noted, true happiness is found in virtuous activity, especially in service to one's community. Path 3. The courage to be imperfect, the humanist path. At the heart of the inferiority complex that drives loneliness is a deep-seated fear of being seen as flawed. We believe that if people saw our true imperfect selves, they would reject us, so we hide. The psychologist Alfred Adler called the antidote to this courage, specifically the courage to be imperfect. This is the understanding that true connection is not built on a foundation of perfection, but on a foundation of shared vulnerability. Imagine the good person, the one who never says no and is terrified of being disliked. Their relationships are shallow because they are not based on authenticity. They are based on a performance of agreeableness. They are lonely because no one knows the real them. The path of courage is to take a small risk. The next time a colleague asks them to take on an unreasonable task, they say, with kindness but firmness, I'd love to help, but my plate is full right now. This is a terrifying moment for them. They expect rejection, but often the opposite happens. The colleague says, "No problem, I understand," and their respect for them actually grows. By having the courage to show their limits, their imperfection, they have opened the door to a more authentic and honest relationship. They have shown that they respect themselves, which is the first step to earning the genuine respect of others. The open door. The feeling of loneliness is a profound signal from our soul. It is not a verdict declaring that we are unworthy of connection. It is an invitation. It is an invitation to look at the world with the Stoics' compassionate, wide-angle lens and see our common humanity. It is an invitation to follow the Eastern path of contribution and to find ourselves by losing ourselves in service. And it is an invitation to take up Adler's challenge and to have the courage to show up in the world, not as a perfect performance, but as our authentic, beautifully imperfect selves. The glass wall of loneliness is not built by others. It is built, brick by brick, from our own fears and mistaken beliefs. And the most beautiful truth of all is that the door has been unlocked the entire time. You have always held the key. The journey out of loneliness is simply the courageous act of turning that key, opening that door, and stepping out to join the shared, imperfect, and beautiful world that has been waiting for you all along.